Ooh, it's back, baby. Our first pick six of the season. Jenks, let's start off in Arkansas with an SEC matchup between South Carolina and Arkansas. The Razorbacks laying 8.5, the total 53. Jenks, what's the play?
Ooh, is this the Daily Tip fight song? Good job, Double D. I love Arkansas laying the points here. Spencer Rattler is coming in. He's now the quarterback for South Carolina. Remember last year, he struggled out of the gate at Oklahoma. In fact, he was the starter for that team up until that game against Texas when Caleb Williams came over, never gave up the job. Rattler did not look good last week, Chelsea, against Georgia State. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Razorbacks already took down a very solid Cincinnati squad, and Arkansas has covered in their last 4 games. Razorbacks minus 8.5 against the Gamecocks.
Ooh, I like that, but I'll also be on the over. I think we see quite a few points in this one, and it's a pretty low total at 53. If you look at Arkansas last week, they had an incredible rush attack, which they did all of last season. They were the number 1 rush attack in all of football. They have 4 of their offensive line starters, and we saw that as their lead running back rushed for over 100 yards last game. KJ Jefferson continues to be an absolute force with his arm and with his feet. And Spencer Rattler, I think he plays towards the over because he's either going to be pretty dynamic and get the ball down the field, or he's going to throw a ton of picks. And I think either way, it spells points. And 53 is like an NFL total. So I think we see more points than that. So I will be on the over. If you want to watch that one, it is a noon kickoff tomorrow in Fayetteville.
Pick six.
All right, let's get it over with. Alabama at Texas tomorrow. The Tide laying 20.5 points. They're minus 1,400 on the money line. Play that fight song, Double D. Texas is plus 800 on the money line. Total set at 65. Someone's got to do it. This is way too many points. 96% of the money is on Bama. 96%. When you see a handle that high, you know what happens? That's when the other side cashes and Vegas builds another hotel. The look-ahead line on this game was Alabama minus 14.5 back in July. It's moved 6 full points. And guess what happened earlier this week? That line touched 21. Immediately, the Sharps came in, knocked it back down to 20.5. This is an early game in Austin. It's going to be in the high 90s. Texas actually has the advantage at receiver and running back with Bijan Robinson, the great Bijan Robinson. They score enough to keep this within the number. Texas plus 20.5 against the Crimson Tide. Hook 'em horns, baby.
No, but it's below that key number of 21, Jenks. Are you a little scared about that? I think I will be praying for you. Thoughts and prayers to Jenks, who has to sweat it out against Alabama, because honestly, I don't think it's going to be that close. I'll probably be on Alabama.
I understand. Alabama and Texas get underway at noon Saturday in Austin, Texas.
Pick six.
All right, next up for me, I am playing the Tennessee and Pitt game. The Vols laying 6.5 on the road here. The number 24 Tennessee Vols, who impressed on a great level in their first game against Ball State, but that was Ball State. I get it. I'm looking at the total in this one. It's 64.5. Last season, Tennessee played at the fastest pace of any team in all of college football. They like to run and gun, and it's a very talented offense led by Hendon Hooker, who looks even better this season than he did last year and ended the stretch. The last 6 games this season, he looked even better than the first half. So I think this is a Tennessee offense under Josh Heupel that's really found their footing, even against this Pitt team that was supposed to have this great defensive line, but we didn't really see it too much in their first game of the season in the backyard brawl against West Virginia. Gave up 31 points to JT Daniels and company. So I would expect points on both sides of the ball in this one, just because the pace is going to be there. I think we see a good back and forth in this Tennessee and Pitt matchup.
I think I'm going to be on the other side here. I'm not going to bet this game. Initially, I lean Tennessee, but the more I look at it, the more I like Pitt at home being a little bit more battle tested because of the backyard brawl. But this number seems just about right. I think it might be a tad inflated because of how explosive Hendon Hooker looked in that opening game, but they weren't challenged, which we didn't expect that anyway. So I'm going to lean Pitt plus 6.5, but probably not going to play at Chelsea.
Oh, well, I'm on the total. I'm on the over. So we can both win. Yeah, if you want to
Oh,
watch
let's do
that
it
one,
then.
it is at 2:30 in Pittsburgh.
Pick six. Pick six.
All right, guys, let's look at a total. I normally don't bet totals in college football, but I'm betting one here. Duke at Northwestern. The Wildcats laying 10 points. The Wildcats are minus 350 on the money line. The Blue Devils are plus 260, total set at 57 and a hook. This might be my favorite bet of the week. This total shot up earlier, and now it's starting to come back down, as it should. The Wildcats want to run the football behind Evan Hall. He was so good in that season opener against Nebraska and Ireland. That's going to slow this game down. And by the way, Duke's head coach is Mike Elko, which is the guy responsible for that really salty Texas A&M defense down in College Station. He's a defensive-minded guy. That's going to also help keep this total below the number. This total way, way too high. Give me under 57.5 between the Cats and the Devils.
Ugh, that doesn't sound like a game I want to watch. I'm sorry, Jenks. Duke, Northwestern, even though Northwestern did look a little bit better when they played in Ireland.
Well, I don't necessarily think I'm going to watch it, but I am going to bet on it. This is a game for nerds. Duke and Northwestern are two very, very good schools, incredible academic schools. So it's going to be like, come on, Blue Devils, you can do it. Let's go. I put some money. I did my computations in Durham this weekend between my science classes, and I think they covered the number.
Your nerd voice is way too good, Jenks. But yeah, they'll probably be in the stands with their pens and papers studying for their classes.
They probably will be. But if you're a nerd and you want to watch Duke and Northwestern, you can. Kickoff set for noon tomorrow in Evanston.
Pick six. Pick six.
Well, speaking of nerds, I'm going to fade Vanderbilt this week. They're going against Wake Forest. We have seen this number really jump. Wake Forest now favored by 12.5 points. Hot on the heels of news that quarterback Sam Hartman is going to be starting for Wake Forest. This is a big deal. Sam Hartman is an established starter for the Demon Deacons. Last season, 39 touchdowns and 4,200 yards of offense under Sam Hartman. So I think this is a Wake Forest team that is explosive enough to handle business against a Vanderbilt team that, yes, has looked all right in their first two games of the season. But we all know how bad Hawaii is. Yes, Vanderbilt beat them 63-10, but Hawaii is now 51-point underdogs to Michigan this week. So I don't think you read into too much how much Vanderbilt has won these games by. So I'll be on Wake Forest following that line movement, and I think this Wake Forest team has the offense to cover that number. Let's go Wake Forest, minus 12.5.
Ooh, Chelsea, I love this play, and I am on this as well. Absolutely playing this. I'm with you. The line has moved in this direction for a reason, and Sam Hartman is really one of the better quarterbacks in all of college football. It's just that he plays for Wake Forest, so he doesn't get a lot of publicity, but he deserves it. What a huge boon for this offense. And Vanderbilt, yeah, they beat Hawaii. Anyone can beat Hawaii. Hawaii is absolutely awful, and then Vanderbilt followed that up by beating what? Elon last week? So Vanderbilt hasn't faced anyone of note, anyone. I think Sam Hartman returns in this game. He has a huge game for the Demon Deacons. So it's below that key number of 14. You don't hear that a lot. But in college football, it does mean something. I like Wake minus 12.5. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout, but I'm all over Wake Forest here as well.
I think it's going to be a blowout. In fact, I hope it's a blowout, so I don't even have to sweat this one. Jenks, are there any games that just missed the cut for you? Because I think for me, the Kentucky-Florida game is very interesting, but I couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I want to, and I've gone back and forth, but I like UCF laying, I believe, 6.5 points tonight. Is it tonight? Against Louisville, because Louisville really struggled to open the season against Syracuse last week. They looked awful. UCF is a team that's slightly undervalued here. I think they roll tonight in South Florida, so I'm on UCF.
Ooh, I think it's always difficult to say Louisville because the people in Louisville say it that way, but I've heard people say Louisville. But yeah, I always say it wrong.